Good morning. First, let me acknowledge the leadership of Commissioner James Comer. The business of restoring public trust in government is not a partisan one, and it's my hope that the work we've done here, shoulder to shoulder, provides a powerful example of what can be accomplished in Frankfort when partisan considerations are set aside for the greater public good. Jamie, thank you. You would work? Good. Importantly, let me recognize the enormous contributions of the career professional staff here in the Auditor's Office. Folks who log thousands of hours a year in the noble effort to provide the people of Kentucky with a government that is as good as they are. Of particular note are Brian Likens, my Director of Special Investigations, and Tiffany Welch, the auditor in charge of this important investigation. Both will be available to answer any questions. Today I'm releasing the findings of a special investigation into the tenure of Commissioner of Agriculture Richie Farmer. The responsibility for holding accountable a man I once cheered as a kid is a grim one. But the law makes no distinction between icons and the rest of us, and neither do I. The Department of Agriculture under Commissioner Farmer was a culture of entitlement and self-dealing, one in which there were no qualms about using the taxpayer dollars as their own. The sheer volume and recklessness of the abuses shocked the conscience. This report covers 41 findings and makes 126 recommendations and over 150 pages. The former commissioner had state employees on state time take him hunting and shopping, build a basketball court in his backyard, mow his lawn, and even chauffeur his dog. These are just some of the documented abuses that ought to outrage every Kentuckian. This broad and sweeping investigation that Commissioner Comer asked for involved the review of thousands of documents from 2004 to 2011, interviews with more than 50 individuals who were present and former employees of the KDA, Kentucky Proud vendors, as well as the former spouse of the former Commissioner of Agriculture. Richie Farmer himself, through his attorney, declined our offer for an interview. The exam reveals 6 areas of substantial concern. The first, the misuse of state resources and employees for personal benefit. Second, an extravagant conference on the taxpayer dime. Third, questionable spending. Fourth, work product and travel concerns. 5, abuses of the personnel and merit system. And 6, a system of weak management and lax oversight. Particularly troubling are the findings related to the misuse of state resources and employees for personal benefit. Over a 2-year period, the former personnel director was directed to reserve hotel rooms in the names of 2 employees who she knew would not be attending the state fair. The former commissioner used the rooms for the benefit of his family at a cost of $4,257 to the taxpayers. State employees reportedly performed work at the home of the former commissioner on state time, including constructing a basketball court in his backyard and moving a gun safe from his garage to his basement. In one instance, he reportedly called a merit employee from a training program at a local university for the purpose of driving him to a sportsman's warehouse in southern Indiana. In another, he reportedly shot a deer illegally from the cab of a state-issued vehicle and then directed the state employee to field dress it for him. In 2007 and 2011, the former commissioner reportedly directed a staff member to fill Christmas baskets for use as gifts for his family with products purchased by the KDA and donated by Kentucky Proud vendors for promotional purposes. The former commissioner directed staff to purchase 2 refrigerators with department funds. While Farmer returned one of the refrigerators to the KDA, his former spouse told our auditors that she used it at her place of work and has since returned it to my office. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the missing refrigerator. The former commissioner took 4 laptops for his personal use that were intended to replace the computers of 4 staff members. While 3 laptops and related equipment were recovered in January, one of the laptops, in addition to another used for the commissioner's personal service, remain unaccounted for. The former commissioner did not report any gifts during his 8-year tenure as Commissioner of Agriculture, while the law requires an annual reporting of anything over $200 to the State Executive Branch Ethics Commission. This exam found several gifts in excess of the legal limit, including $900 worth of free concrete from a local vendor to construct the previously mentioned basketball court in his backyard. Particularly troubling is the SASDA conference. Now, SASDA stands for Southern Association of State Departments of Agriculture, for which there are 16 members. This conference, the extravagance of this conference, that had fewer than 200 employees, shows a stunning disregard for the economic difficulties faced by Kentuckians who work for a living. Of particular note, we calculate that $96,000 in total cost to the taxpayers with no clear benefit to them. Keep in mind that only 13 commissioners of agriculture, including Richie Farmer, attended this conference. Based on interviews with staff and supported by documentation, it appears that great efforts were made to conceal the degree of financial support for this conference. For instance, a $15,000 KDA grant was made to a commodity group with the stipulation that $10,000 be sent to SASDA for support of the conference. The department spent $15,653 to register 53 employees to attend the conference. Now keep in mind, that means over a quarter of the attendees at this conference were employees of the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. Many of those employees were already being used as staff to support the conference, resulting in $53,310 in cost to the taxpayers for more than 2,000 regular hours and overtime. Despite only 13 principals in attendance, Farmer reportedly directed staff to order excessive numbers of gifts, ranging from knives and gun cases to boxes of cigars, shopping mall gift cards, and watches. Most of the excess was taken to his home after the conference. For example, 25 rifles, some of which you see here, were ordered at a cost of $449 each. And despite the fact that $449 worth of each gun, 25 were ordered, despite the fact that there are only 16 member states in this association. The former commissioner personally picked up and signed for 13 of these rifles, and while he has returned 7, 6 remain unaccounted for. Questionable spending. The United States Department of Fish and Wildlife directed the KDA to auction ginseng it had confiscated from an illegal harvest, with the stipulation that the proceeds be used by the department to promote the legal ginseng industry in Kentucky. This investigation found that the department used $43,000 of those funds towards the purchase of vehicles in an area in agriculture totally unrelated to the ginseng program. This finding has been forwarded to the Office of the Inspector General of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Tobacco settlement money was used to pay a $15,000 grant to a recipient that the KDA staff had complained had not lived up to its requirements for reimbursement. The department spent $4,192 to buy 2 60-inch televisions with corresponding wall brackets. One TV was mounted in the executive conference room of KDA, the other in the commissioner's personal office. Staff reported through interviews with my office that the order was expedited in order for the former commissioner to watch the NCAA tournament. The investigation revealed significant findings related to the timesheet and travel abuses by employees who had close relationships with a former commissioner. A former employee, commonly known as a hometown friend of the former commissioner, was paid $70,457 for travel and work for which there is no demonstrated work product. An amusement ride inspector with a family relationship with a former commissioner appears to have received pay in the use of state vehicle for which no department-related work was performed. As documented earlier, his GPS device appears to have been tampered with, limiting accountability for the use of that vehicle. This chart to my right demonstrates why it's important to have a GPS device on taxpayer paid for vehicles. The gentleman in question began his day in London, and with the task of getting to Winchester to inspect 2 amusement rides. So he left London. He's an early riser. He left at 6:30 in the morning and got to Manchester at 7:25. He stayed 2 minutes. For the purpose of that, we do not know. He left Manchester, went back to London, was in London for 7 minutes, departed for Lexington, was in Lexington for 1 minute, and then got to Wilmore, again for the purpose the purpose is totally unfounded. So after spending a few minutes in Wilmore, he goes to Winchester to perform his work responsibility. And I think, as Commissioner Comer has pointed out by his actions, how important of a regulatory responsibility this is. He was in charge of inspecting 2 devices. Making quick work of it, he did it in 17 minutes. After leaving Winchester, he went to Richmond, where he spent most of the afternoon, returning to London that afternoon. The net result is the total distance traveled was 269 miles versus a round-trip London to Winchester trip of 146 miles. Particularly troubling is that he requested 10.5 hours of work, claimed 10.5 hours of work that day for something that should have taken just over a few hours. This speaks to the culture that we found in this cabinet, and certainly the people of Kentucky haven't gotten what they were promised. Finally, no significant work can be confirmed for a non-merit employee with a documented personal relationship with the former commissioner. In addition, the former commissioner personally signed her timesheets because his chief of staff refused to do so, citing his inability to attest to the work being performed by her. The investigation documents 7 findings related to the abuse of the personnel and merit system, including pre-selecting candidates for merit positions, rewarding bonuses without justification, and retaliating against an employee. It should be noted that these alleged abuses of the merit system occurred after similar practices were prosecuted in the Fletcher administration. Additionally, timesheets of 4 non-merit special assistants were not signed by a supervisor with direct oversight of their work. The employees were given limited or non-specific job duties. In one instance, a supervisor refused to sign the timesheets due to the lack of a work product. These employees were paid 683 hours of compensatory time approved by a former personnel director who had no knowledge of their work. 14 troubling findings related to a weak system of management and operations are identified in this investigation. A former executive director and former director told staff to delay a regulatory action against a grain dealer because it was during an election year and was likely to cause the commissioner a negative political consequence. A $1.65 million fuel lab has badly missed the projection of 20,000 samples, resulting in a loss of over $744,000 to the taxpayers in fiscal year 2011 alone. At the outset of this investigation, Commissioner Comer and I made clear that a cloud of suspicion continued to hang over the Department of Agriculture. And I said then that I viewed it as my job as the taxpayer watchdog to either dispel that cloud of suspicion or to hold those who created it accountable. In keeping with that mission, today I'm referring this report to the Kentucky Attorney General, to the Executive Branch Ethics Commission, to the Internal Revenue Service, and 3 other relevant enforcement agencies. To do otherwise would be to do a grave disservice to the taxpayers of Kentucky who foot the bill expecting nothing but honest government in return. To turn a blind eye would insult the thousands of public employees who work hard every day to provide the people of Kentucky with honest and effective government. People who don't deserve to be lumped in with those who abuse the public trust. The facts solely dictated this investigation, and the final report goes not an inch beyond the facts, but nor does it retreat an inch from them. Today is not a good one, but tomorrow the sun will rise on a new Kentucky Department of Agriculture, and the important work of providing the people of Kentucky with a government that is as honest as their paycheck will begin in earnest. Commissioner Comer and I are ready for questions.